Testing, testing. All right, we're going to call this meeting to order at 10:01 a.m. First thing we need to do is confirmation of proof of 48-hour plus notice. If you look at the screen, you'll see the email that was sent to my house on 11/14 at 8:30 a.m. that meets the requirements for notification. The next thing is confirmation of a quorum of a board. I am Ed Hughes. I am present.
Mario Delgado, Secretary.
Ira Curlin, Vice President. And Tony Pepinella, Treasurer.
So that is 4 or 5. We have a quorum. I would like also to say that Bill Krimmel did undergo surgery at the end of last week, and he is recuperating at home at the moment. So, all right, if we can all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, so today we are going to take the next cut at our budget proposal. What we're going to focus on right now is the changes from the previous budget workshop. And I'm going to try to put this up here for the board so everybody can see it. Absolutely, and Mario has just requested that it was at the board meeting that we appointed Lori, last name? Hurwitz. As the vice chair on the finance committee, and I'd just like to introduce everybody to Lori so that they know who she is.
Yay!
All right, so moving on. What we're displaying on the board and what Tony is now going to speak to are the changes from the last budget workshop and the impact of those on the budget.
Okay, so it's going to be a tag team between myself and Lori. So I'm going to speak Colleen. I need my sugar. So, we'll break up the changes into 2 generic categories. The first is after subsequent discussions with property and grounds and lifestyle, we received some new and additional information on what we had already estimated and factored that into the budget. Because our first pass at the budget, if I recall correctly, was 24 plus trends and run rate to derive base case for 25. And then property and grounds came back.
Yeah, plus known contract.
Known
increases.
contracts, right.
Yeah.
So that was the first rough pass. And then they came back and said, well, we're going to sensitize some of these numbers for seasonality, for items that we know, and for items that don't fit the run rate. So there was some corrective forecasting there. The second piece speaks to the various projects that they had on the boards, which we did not include in the first budget because they do require board approval. I know most of you guys, if not all of you, have seen those projects, have seen the listing of projects, but I don't think we've ever taken a formal vote on them, so it would not be proper to put that in the first pass. This that we're going to present today includes all of those numbers, and then of course, if they all pass, fine. If whatever don't pass, we'll factor it out later, but that'll be for the Friday meeting. So what we're going to talk about today is if all the projects that were put on the table pass. So now I'm going to hand it over to Colleen, and she'll walk us through all the various pieces.
Thanks, Tony. So hopefully everyone can see up there. What we have is in the purple, underneath the purple heading, all the operating expense changes that P&G, Property and Grounds, requested. And just to go through them quickly, pool and spa maintenance contract, we have a new provider. So we did increase that by $10,000, which when we look at the home charge per month, it's 99 cents. We also had additional tree trimming requested versus what we had done this year.
So the question on the pool and spa contract, we don't have a new provider yet, but this is in anticipation of.
Okay.
Because I think there's a desire to have a pool company that can do both service and maintenance instead of just service only.
Thank you. And again, tree trimming, just to kind of do more than we did in 2024, that is offset by a reduction in mulch requirements that Property and Grounds feels we need for 2025. And then what we did was they wanted a breakout for buildings maintenance, but they felt the general maintenance was maybe overstated. So we just reclassified $20,000 out of general maintenance into building maintenance. And then had a need for fire alarm maintenance, which we didn't have this year. And then court repairs. This year we had bocce ball repairs. Next year we're looking at some other court repairs. So when we look at all of that together, it's almost $4, $3.96 in increase for operating expenses from Property and Grounds per month, per home. And then Property and Grounds had requested projects.
I just want to say that these numbers are assembled with the information that we have to date. Okay.
Right. So the first project is the dog park paver extension.
Quick question on the mulch. I'm seeing, is that solely for single family? What about common area? 9021.
We just took it out of that account, basically. So yeah, I think that'll be distributed throughout.
So, because just as a clarification, we did not complete the common area mulch this year. We purchased as much mulch and labor materials, and we ended at a certain point.
Okay. Common, we do have a separate
Yeah.
line item, and Dan actually is, the one who put this in as,
That might be 9020, I'm guessing, if I remember.
Right.
yeah, the
And I
common
guess
one.
it didn't
Right,
change.
and we'll talk about, the proper line classifications at some, that'll be between Colleen, Lori, and myself, because we are going to have a thorough review of our chart of accounts. We think there were too many, we think that some of them are obsolete, and they're not descriptive enough and didn't reflect some of the changes, and maybe don't provide enough transparency for us. And
Thank you.
so we'll be undertaking that process.
But just to be clear, this was Property and Grounds input saying that they thought it could be reduced. Okay, so the dog park paver extension is just what it says, a little bit of a paver extension in the dog park. It's not a total redo of the dog park, and it's not resodding or anything like that, but just some pavers for $7,500.
Yeah, I'd just say that that specific project is scoped to fix the erosion issue that we're having coming off of.
The next project is proposed by Property and Grounds, but it's really related to a safety issue to remove some shrubs and trim back shrubs where cars come across on DW, where you can't really see. There's really an obstruction in the center median. The next project is we had the sales center building inspected. There were found deficiencies, and this is the money to take care of the deficiencies only, $10,000. And then the garden center, the top ledge boards and the timers need to be repaired. And then another safety issue put forward by Property and Grounds is to add path lights from the homes up to the meridian, because it's very dark back there. And so,
Right, the old model center.
yes. So the P&G projects, all in, add almost $6, $5. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. No. $446 per month per home.
Remind me, how much money are we generating from the garden center? And I'm just,
5,000.
5,000, that doesn't even cover the water, right? That and water, right? Yeah, that cost center, I think, should be like a break even.
Well, you can argue that. I mean, it's something for discussion, because the flip side of that is, and again, I have no dog in this hunt, but the flip side of it is we don't charge for use of the tennis courts. That's an amenity. We don't charge.
But everybody can use the tennis courts, not everybody
Oh,
can
that's
use the
right.
garden center.
It's restricted.
Every other amenity here
No,
is
good point, good point.
available to everybody.
Good point.
Specific safety projects were reviewed. We have a missing speed limit sign on Del Webb Boulevard, that $400 to replace that. And then we talked about this at the last budget workshop, but the cost to have Florida Highway Patrol come in is also a project that's been added for $14,400 per year.
And we had some subsequent discussions that escaped me. Is that, you think that 14,000 is enough for the 12 months? It's a start.
I mean, no, I believe it's appropriate, right? We know that they're charging $60 an hour.
Right.
We know that they only do it in 3-hour increments, so that's $180 a time. We bring them in once a week for $180 a week, do the math, right?
Okay.
I think we're good.
That's fine. Okay.
The CERT committee also had a project request, primarily CPR training and a community map and resource guide for $2,000. And then CIT, meeting recording improvement for $600. So all in, all of the projects per month, per home, $6.17. Then we met with Lifestyles, as Tony said, and went through their operating budget changes. So when you see here, we talked about the amenity wages and the bar staff wages. We had the conversation, it's not a full-time person that's being added, it's one person's hours being increased so they become full-time. And the difference really is 11 hours per week, but then they qualify for benefits. So you see a large increase in benefits. That is really because we have 4 full-time workers if this person becomes full-time, but only currently one person is taking the benefit. So we're budgeting because you never know if people are going to take the benefits. So we have to budget as if everyone will take the full-time benefits. Some of these, in aerobics specifically, will be
And
off
Can we get more color? What was the justification again that they needed that increase?
in the full-time
Yeah,
person.
go from 3 to 4.
Well, again, it's just the hours. So moving a person from part-time to full-time.
And what was the problem that they're trying to solve?
They were trying to improve service levels basically during the peak times and get, go ahead, Ed, got a better handle.
Right. Just insufficient resource during stress periods.
Well,
Is part of it.
There's several factors. One is coverage, right? We've had, I'm not going to say numerous, but a significant number of outages where personnel call in sick or whatever, right? And we also have the opportunity, and this is their primary argument, is that with a full-time bistro person taking on the responsibility of managing the bistro, we're going to end up getting better service, better menus, better coverage for the operating hours. But basically, it's a person that the lifestyle managers can delegate managing the bistro to in an official capacity.
See, my problem is that we had this discussion. I personally was involved with them last year on this, and that was a promise that they gave us when we gave them an additional head count last year, that they were going to address that. So now they're coming back for asking for more. So I'm having real problems with that, considering that we gave them a full-time
But last year,
bistro manager.
when 24's budget was developed, there were, I believe, at that time, only about 700 homes that were completed. We got to 850 during 2024, and even then, that 700 was really 600 and change were occupied. The balance were either in contract completion or they hadn't moved in yet. So you didn't get the stress that you got here. I think, and this might be human behavior, is that they may have under budgeted because just didn't have the courage to ask for really what was needed.
And that's a great point. I have to point out, so Tony and I, because only two of us can meet at a time, and Colleen, and Lori, we did meet with Lifestyles. But what they have done in the entire budget,
Which
right?
we'll get to.
I'm going to let Colleen get to that.
Well, I knew you were going to say that. So we did have a conversation about the, amenities being net zero. So we did talk to them about increasing the top line to cover this person. And we went through that conversation and they did agree to increase the top line revenue. So you'll see some of that in here.
But that's also the benefit you get by proper staffing. You can increase service, which then generate increased sales, maybe even be able to increase prices with better product and higher margins to justify the head because now you have the resources to cover. It's like any business.
I'm curious, was there any discussion how this new club automation product that's supposed to be in place early in 2025 will impact the efficiency of how things are done? Because to my knowledge, that's specifically done for the POS system to increase the efficiency.
We talked about the POS system and the ability to have the two lines running. And I think Ed made a big point about making sure that we didn't have lines at the big events and that they were properly staffed and that they were going to be able to handle the crowds better. And they committed wholeheartedly to that.
Thank you.
Right. Now, separately, and we talk about Lifestyles in the aggregate, what they have committed to us, because in our experience has been in 2024, I got to remember what year this is, 2024, it looks as if they're operating as a break-even proposition for the most part. With the numbers that they project for 25, as well as with service improvement, menu changes, which may attract more customers and increase the spend, they're actually, I think the projection is somewhere close to a $45,000 or $50,000 net profit by the end of the year in total. So, and that would pay for the extra head as well as
On direct expense, right? On direct expense.
yes.
Versus break even is what we typically budgeted. So if you go to the bottom of the handout, and it's shown on the screen right now, when we look at amenity income, which again, they did agree to increase the social programs income while we were in the meeting by at least $20,000. And then we have the other revenue drivers that Lifestyles is responsible for. So total amenity income up $356,000, offset by these direct costs, which they felt comfortable. They confirmed in the meeting that they could increase the revenue on social programs without increasing the expense. So $40,000 of income on social programs offsets the person, the 11 hours, and net, we have $356,000 of income, $210,000 of direct expense. So direct net income is $146,000, I'm sorry. When you net it out with the other increases that we've talked about from an operating expense perspective, the net impact is a $52,000 change.
Right. And then what they're also projecting as far as the income is greater penetration besides fee increases, greater participation. We noticed that when we get the last report, we see there's a big drop off in participation in some of these classes. So they're going to be reviewing the classes, changing up the menu, as it were, on what's being offered to get greater participation.
Okay, so all in, we'll have 4 bistro staff, 2 administrative.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That's what's going to be at the end. It's quite a bit.
So the bistro staff in general, it's because they're all part-time. that's flexible, right? So you can have 3 people doing 32 hours a week, you can have 5 people doing 24 hours a week, you can have 10 people doing, 10 hours a week. So it's on the head count on the part-time people, it's number of hours, it's not really head count. What's of consequence is the full-time employees, which we would have 2 managers, or manager, assistant manager, 1 front desk, and 1 bistro full-time employee. So we'd have 4 full-time, Lifestyles would have 4 full-time employees that are passing through to us.
Yeah. That's actually a great question and great observation. I just had a sidebar with Colleen. We're going to go back to Lifestyles and ask them to give us their head count in full-time equivalents. Then that would account for the part-timers. So we might have 4 people, that might be 1.5 full-time equivalents, or whatever it shakes out to be. Right, and then it's easier to wrap your head around that.
Okay, so I think we kind of just walked through all of that. So I said the calculated net change, when you take all of the projects, what Property and Grounds asked for, what Lifestyles asked for, and then offset by the amenity income, the calculated net change from the discussions was $52,000, which is $61 annually, $5 per home per month. The other issue that we have to reflect in this calculation is, in the prior workshop, we just said that the amenity income was going to net to zero, including operating the Meridian. In fact, it's not, it's direct cost that nets to zero, not operating the Meridian. So there's $106,000 of cost that is categorized as operating the Meridian, like bistro supplies. I believe the WTS management fee is in that operating the Meridian category. So those will not net to zero. So the impact of that is $10. So net versus what we said a week ago, it's a $1,554 per month increase per home. So we had said $400, and we're up to $415.85.
And that is exclusive of the $50 reserve assessment.
Correct.
No, wait,
No, exclusive of the $50 reserve.
okay.
Right, 'cause
Exclusive.
It was
Exclusive
450.
of.
Right, yes, you're right.
So we're looking at 465.85 all in.
Correct. Right, and that's assuming that the board approves all the projects, right? That's it.
Isn't it a $33 increase, which brings it to 50? No questions yet, please. We'll get to that.
Okay, so I think that's it. We're a lot more comfortable with these numbers now than we were late last week, especially after the meetings that we had with Property Grounds and Lifestyle.
And so what do you need from the board to proceed?
Absolutely nothing. This is a workshop and information center. We take this away. The votes will be at the end of the week when we're at the full board meeting. Okay, and I guess we'll talk about the projects as well, or vote on the projects to approve or disapprove, and that'll adjust the number one up, down, because we have everything in here now. Okay. As a point of information, I think some of the email traffic that we've had over the last few days, and also as a result of a little more granularity on the Milton expenses, the Milton medication, we find that our initial estimate may have been a little too conservative, that it looks like it's shaping up to be anywhere between $100 and $125 per house for that cost. Was it 125? No, I'm sorry. It was 125 to 140, $125 to $140 per house on what Milton cost us, and that's something that we need to discuss. Not now. We don't need it, but we may. But it does deplete working capital. I mentioned this last week, and we may need it in 25. We may not need it. We might be okay. But just to keep in the back of your head, that's lurking out there.
When we developed the budget last year, we put in an extra $100K, which we fortunately ended up using. It was fortuitous that we did, just for everybody's benefit. We try to budget for stuff happening. So Does this budget have that extra buffer inside of it? No. So, okay, so that's a concern.
I agree, but I'll also say we don't know what we don't know, right? We've already proposed, and I assume that we will accept it, a significant increase in our landscaping maintenance and repair. And what we don't know is we don't know how long it takes us to spend that money, right? When we're doing major projects like the sod repairs and you know, hopefully we'll start talking about major expenditures for irrigation repairs or fixes. But at the end of the day, it's taking several months to get any project from conception to fruition, right? So I don't feel comfortable adding another $100 to this because I'm not confident in my ability, our ability, to spend that money fast enough.
But also to Mario's comment, what this doesn't reflect is the approximately 180 to 200,000 in surplus that we're projected to have for '24 that we pull forward.
And that would be our
into 25.
buffer.
That's the buffer. Okay, does that answer your question?
And what we would started discussing this morning via email, the potential Sunrise issue if they don't pursue that.
Well, as I understand it, and unfortunately, the shape of our ledgers are such that I cannot say definitively, but it appears as if the 200,000 payable to Sunrise is on the books, has been accrued. So when I take a look and I make the comment that we're going to have 200,000 in surplus, that is cash minus current payables. If Sunrise is in it, then in that calculation, we've paid Sunrise. If Pulte pays Sunrise, then we have a $200,000 windfall, which we then figure out what to do with it when that day comes.
And also the deficit spending, which we're litigating.
Again, budgets, we don't make budgets based on maybe I'll get the money.
No, they're separate issues. They're separate issues.
Right. And we should find out what the size of the deficit is once,
Actually, they're commingled issues. There's like some overlap. It's not exactly one-to-one.
right. But we'll get that number once the auditors finish the stub period.
So I do want to address the comment that was made in the room. The gentleman is correct that our reserve assessment is going to go from 17 to 50, which represents a $33 increase in the reserve assessment. But the new assessment will be 50, and that 50 will be added to the operational assessment. So however you slice it, it still comes up that we're looking at 465.85 at this point in time.
Correct.
All right.
Any questions, Ira?
No, thank you again for all your work, the two of you.
Mario, any questions? Any further
We
follow-up?
just need some board actions on, like for the security, rather the Florida Highway Patrol. Just make sure everybody's in agreement with that. And I guess the head count, I mean, do we have to vote on that, or accepting the budget is by inference, accepting the head count, so those types of things?
So at the budget meeting, they will put all this together, and then as a board, we will go through, and so start thinking about it now, because we got 3 days to make a decision as a board. But we will put these projects up, and we will vote as to whether or not we want to fund those projects, right? And then from that point, any of those that are funded will be put into the normal budget, and anything that aren't funded will be taken out, correct? All right.
Correct. So the number would only go down with the information we have today. Again, I got to keep saying that.
Yep, today's information.
Because we keep getting new information and new estimates every day.
All right. I would like to,
Logistically, what's going to be handed out at the meeting? Is it this or the complete budget? And
No, it'll be the complete budget.
Okay.
This is only for today's discussion to kind of make it a little easier to talk through.
you're working with management or whatever to make enough copies for everybody? Okay, very good.
All right, I'm going to give anybody in the audience 3 minutes if they would like to come up and comment for the board.
Thank you, Ira. Larry Rocchio, 19719 Shipwheel Way. So, over a year ago, I put in for a request for a new palm tree. I was told before the hurricane,
This is outside the scope of this meeting.
well, it has to do with property and grounds. You're doing dog park expense, garden, path lights, highway patrol. I was told before the hurricane that the trees were ready to be put in. My tree is now bent over in half.
I hear you, Larry, and we discussed this last week because we already spoke about the budget for replacements, that we budgeted almost $1 million for that for next year. Included in that are a number of items, but
This project, if you will come to me after the meeting, I'll let you know exactly where we're at and I'll follow up for you. How's that?
oh, is this something else?
Yeah, his tree, I believe your tree has already been approved and you're just waiting on them to put it in, right?
Right, because I have other projects that I want to do, but I'm afraid the tree
So
replacement is going to
again,
damage
after
everything
this
else.
meeting, come see me. I'll figure out where we are and I'll give you an update the best I can.
Okay, and with the $33, are you going off of the 380 and then adding everything on top of that to get to the 465? Because then the 17 is already included in the 380, so it should only be 33 on top of that.
Yeah, this was off of the 363 without the 17, right? Because the 17 is the reserve this year, 363 is the base this year, and this is now going to go to the 485
Okay, so you
versus,
deducted the 17 from the 380
yeah.
to 363, then adding 50.
correct.
Well,
Yeah,
this,
correct,
this
the way he's looking at it, right. It's the-
Okay.
So the base number of 363 goes to 415.
yes,
The 17 goes to 50.
right,
So with those two changes, we're going from 380 to 465.
yes.
Okay?
All right, thank you.
Bob Bloomfield, 19091 Coastal Shore Terrace. I just have two questions. Just curious what the purpose is of making the bistro profitable. The reason I'm asking that is because you're asking for a large increase. Plus, if you make it profitable, they raise their prices, and that's costing us more money as well. So, I mean, you're just moving money around, but to make it profitable, they have to charge more.
Okay, so it's a zero-sum game, Bob. If we bring it back to zero, then those profits or that excess is using to fund some of the overhead and some of the wages. So if we're not going to fund it through, we'll call it a use fee or whatever, then the 415 becomes 420. It's as simple as that.
Right, so we're just moving money around is what we're doing.
That's all you're doing, but exactly.
Second question is, I know is for the Governing Documents Committee, we submitted some, is that included into the budget?
Yes, so I went back and there was an email to say, is this incremental versus 2024? And the answer was electronic voting was incremental. So there is a line item added for the electronic voting for 1850 in
Okay.
this budget.
And the rest of the, I mean, we
It's
didn't
just,
ask for a
it's
lot.
in the run rate because it's
Okay.
not incremental.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anita Todd on Bay Tide Court. I would just like to commend the board and the finance people for making such an open and well thought out budget. This is the first time that I can remember having several budget meeting workshops with such detailed analysis, and I appreciate your doing that this year. I do have a comment about the bistro people. You keep saying the bistro is making money, but what's not included in the bistro is the bistro wages. So could you break out the lifestyle people for office and bistro and include the bistro wages in your analysis of the bistro expenses. I think that would be a more accurate picture. Thank you.
And that's a good point, and the presentation is evolving. What you saw last week was the first pass. We have a second pass, we made some changes. We'll do that, and then under the general heading of we hope to get smarter every day, there'll probably be a third and fourth iteration as well, as we really dig into the numbers and start saying what makes sense and what doesn't make sense to aggregate. This is the first time we've really aggregated, in this pass to try to make the format a little more readable to the general populace and to also to help focus the conversation. Now, insofar as just profitability, including wages, and we need to consider this, the bistro will never have the critical mass that a business has to generate enough business to fully cover the nut of staffing it. It's just not happening. So we need to understand that, and that going forward, we should never expect a bistro with wages to be profitable, because there's just not enough business to do that.
I mean, at the end of the day, the bistro is part of our amenity package, and the choice is, do we want it or not? And if we want it, we have to fund it. If we don't want to fund it, then a bistro goes away. And I don't think anybody really wants that, but those are your two choices, very simply said.
Good morning. Mabel Edmonds, 19753 Shipwheel Way. I appreciate that this is an evolving process regarding budget development and all of the things that go with it. However, I'm going to beat a dead horse. I just hope that as a practice, you will start earlier maybe in terms of trying to get the information that we, excuse me.
You didn't have to ask, because trust me, I didn't want to do this now either. So, yeah.
I know, but let me finish, please. Thank you. So that the community can be educated and can know exactly, or at least what you're anticipating. Because as you know, and I've mentioned this to several of you on the board, at the candidates meet and greet, the number one issue was just getting information, especially regarding the budget, and then being able to digest everything, and then having homeowners to develop their own budgets. And so this is a pretty hefty increase. And to cut down on anxiety and comments from homeowners who are not at the workshops or whatever, I just hope that there will be a better way of sharing information. And on Thursday at the budget meeting, where you're going to approve the budget for next year, I hope you will go into detail, no matter how long it takes, because it's one thing to share the information on the screen and we're, say, not looking at it on paper or haven't had a chance to study it and not knowing all of the specifics. And so, Ed, I appreciate you sharing the extra information simply because you either met with Lifestyle, for example, and you had that knowledge, but we as homeowners need to have that extra knowledge. So please take time to share this information as much as possible at the Thursday meeting. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, and one more thing, if I have any more time left on my 3 minutes. 30 seconds. Okay. I think if at your regular board meetings, you would provide time for Lifestyle and for the management to go into more detail about what they do. We will have a greater appreciation for them and what's coming. Thank you.
Okay, so to your comments, excellent comments all. We, Certainly, I am not happy with the process this year, having been elected October 1st and then immediately thrown into the budget process. That's not the way I would have liked to do this. I would have rather gotten elected in July and kick off a budget process in August. So again, under the heading of we get smarter every day, and the process for next year, and I will give this assertion, this promise to you and to the community, will look way different than it did this year. This year was, and I'm going to say it, it was rushed, without question. It was rushed, it was hectic, it was quite stressful for everybody involved. Numerous meetings, more meetings, meetings on top of meetings and follow-up, as well as the, I'm going to try and keep it clean, but fugazi way of communicating that that legislation forces us, okay? That forces us to do. It is absolutely on the schedule for next year. So, bear with us. We're going to be in hopefully a way different place next year with respect to finances, as well as what we hope with amenities and the appearance of the community.
I don't think we'll have time to do it this year, but remember last year, we actually surveyed a lot of communities, and even at the 465 number, I'm just off the top of my head, I still think we're delivering a really, really good value considering what other communities surrounding are, what, dollar for dollar and what all the amenities we have. We're a very amenity-intensive community. Bocce courts, tennis courts, pickleball, two pools. There's a lot that we're getting for our money, I think. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I just wanted a quick comment. At the Thursday meeting, would you please provide enough copies of the budget for everybody to have? It's hard for people to see this. Thank you.
Just a quick thing. I calculate we're going to have over 500,000 by the end of the year in reserve that we collect. Any thoughts as to what we're going to do with that money? Just making sure that it's invested properly for us.
And I'll be looking at that as well, one thing at a time.
Okay, are there any other comments from the audience? All right, everyone, I want to thank you. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So motioned.
Second.
And we are adjourned.